Let's do a SQL practice problem together. If you want to follow along, this is a Pharmacy Analytics 2 challenge from DataLemur.com. We did part 1 in a previous video. So the question says, CVS Health is analyzing pharmacy sales data and how well different products are selling in the market. Each drug is exclusively manufactured by a single manufacturer. Write a query to identify the manufacturers associated with the drugs that resulted in losses for CVS Health. Output the manufacturer's name, the number of drugs associated with the losses, and the total losses in absolute value. Play the results sorted in descending order with the highest losses displayed at the top. So as always, let's start with looking at the table. The table is called Pharmacy Sales and it has 6 columns. We have the columns Product ID, Units Sold, Total Sales, Cost of Goods Sold, Manufacturer, and Drug, which is the drug name. Now let's think back to the SQL problem. They want to see a query that shows the manufacturer name, number of drugs that had losses, and the total losses per manufacturer. So that already tells me the only columns I will need are manufacturer, drug, total sales, and cost of goods sold. So let's start solving this by calculating how much money was made or lost by each drug. We're going to type in select, manufacturer, drug, and we're going to add a new column and call it net value. That is the result of subtracting the cost of goods sold from the total sales, which will allow us to see if there was a profit or a loss. And this is what it gives us. It shows all the manufacturers, the drug names, and whether they made a profit or not via the net value column that we added. Now let's think back to the question. They only want the drugs that didn't make a profit. So we're going to add a filter using the where keyword, and it's going to check that the net value column is less than or equal to 0, meaning they lost money. And this is what we get. Now we can see the manufacturer, the drug name, and how much money they lost. But we don't want to see it by drug name. We want to aggregate the losses by manufacturer and also show the count of drugs that lost money. So we'll need to use 2 different aggregate functions, count and sum. Let's start with count. The count function is used to count the number of rows that match a specific condition in a database table. It's like counting how many items are present in a list that satisfy a certain requirement. Then we'll also need the sum function, which is used to calculate the sum of values in a specific column of a database table. It's like adding up all the numbers on a list. Now here I'm going to deviate from the answer just a little bit to show you how these work in more detail. First, I'm going to add another filter to our query to only show the drugs that have lost money from Johnson & Johnson, just so we have a smaller data set to play with. And we get this, 6 rows with different drugs that lost money and how much money they lost. Now I'm going to add the count function and have it count the number of drugs that match our criteria. Then I'm going to put the sum function around what was our net value column, which I've now renamed total loss, and I also have to add a group by statement so we can see the results by the manufacturer. So what we see now is just the same results we had in our previous Johnson & Johnson query, except now they're summarized by manufacturer. Think of it like a pivot table in Excel. Now the hard part is done. Let's go back to the question. They mentioned they wanted the loss value to be absolute values and not negatives, and they also wanted the results in descending order. So to do that, we'll just wrap the net value around the ABS function, which will make it an absolute number instead of a negative, and add an order by total loss in descending order. And that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. Check the link in my bio for more SQL resources and follow me for more data content.